what would you say, reluctant. And I'm walking away a bigger fan than when I got here. And I was like, oh, that's like the biggest compliment that we could receive. Cause he was like, I saw what it was. And that was cool. Cause it seemed to, happen with Danny and then other people that when there were salespeople for our distributors and they got to feel and see it. And so, there's no way to really do that at scale to bring everybody down there. But when we are able to do it, it's just really a really cool experience.
I used to do something similar. I worked in car racing forever, and I worked for an Italian manufacturer. And I was the United States importer. And every year I brought 2 people from each team who used to drive our car to Italy, and we went to a different region every year. But it was the similar experience, and we couldn't do it for everybody. So it was like, you guys are going to have to fight over the 2 spots or whatever, but all expenses paid. And just to bring somebody over, just to be a part of it, even if it's just one little piece of it, and really get to understand from the foundational level, the tradition behind it, to feel it though. Like you can tell somebody, or I can read it online all about it, but until somebody goes down
to experience it
and experiences it, with somebody who's,
yeah. I mean, you can sense if somebody is genuine about what they're doing and how passionate they are. And I don't know, it seems to like just kind of come across. And I think that, from my side and meeting so many different, brand ambassadors and just reps and blah, 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 blah. And a lot of it is just it always comes down to relationships, and, and those are just the best ones. And, there's people that from all different, brands or distributors that, will just text on the regular, or you're just kind of like check up and be like, hey, I want to grab some lunch. And it's not always just like talking about their brand or like, oh, them having a great deal or whatever the hell. It's just kind of like what's happening in your life, like what's going on and blah, blah, blah.
You're building relationships.
So, for sure.
Which always translates. I think a lot of people, we have this conversation around here a lot about the idea of networking. That was kind of a little bit of a joke when I mentioned like you coming up here and being like, hey, I want that person for my thing, because you have to build a relationship before, and you never know if that relationship is going to translate into something further now or 6 months from now or 6 years from now. But when you, again, back to the like-minded people, you kind of surround yourself with the people who are going to lift each other up.
Yeah.
For
this trip, we're doing a trip like in 2 weeks, and like at this last trip, I've done a few before, but this last trip was like to me pretty special. Just like getting to feel all the energy and all the relationships that were forged through it. That this one I was like, you know what? Like let's just extend it on people's dime. Like, cause people go to Mexico all the time to try and experience these things on their own.
Right.
And so we had a certain amount of people that we were already committed to and were covering the flight and stuff like that. And we did the event here, the cocktail competition, and then we ended it with like, okay, he's going with us on our dime, but whoever wants to go, just,
good.
Oh, it sounds like my wedding.
Yeah. Now we're like 30 deep into this.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's crazy.
Of course. That sounds like a great trip though.
Yeah, it's going to be fun. It's always fun. It's just, it's a big group, which is cool.
Yeah. No, seriously, my wedding, we got married in Kauai, and it's like, there's no way we're taking everybody to Kauai. It's like, let's go to Kauai and get married. Anybody who wants to go.
And they showed up. And they showed up.
Yeah, it was good.
And that's awesome. Yeah. I mean, I think from the competition, people were so stoked, and then
it was a good event.
I think,
I was there for a little bit.
It turned out pretty great. Everybody was pretty stoked in
the format, the competition.
It was what you would consider an industry event though, right? Or was it? No, I guess it was
public.
Open to public. I show that. So
I think that's the thing, even right now with a lot of the events that I'm trying to do, and even with the Agave Roast coming up, and it's just kind of like how to get the word out to the actual community, and not, like we don't try to do these events just for industry, but want other people in the community to see how our industry actually kind of works, and, the camaraderie that's there and the support, and just having fun, but in a different way. And it's not just like us, slinging shots and getting drunk and just, being that kind of way. It's kind of like we're trying to find new ways to give back to the community and doing these things. So Good Time Bros. Yeah. Sorry, Good Time Brothers. You guys are putting the event on. Yeah.
It was collaboration. Okay. It was a collaboration between our spirits with Good Time Bros and Danny's and both.
Good Time Bros, but
so
Agave Roast.
It was really like Brewsters wanted us to do something there, and then it kind of came about. It really originally kind of formulated with Cora from El Silencio. Yeah. And so instead of just keeping it with El Silencio, And I think that goes to like building relationships and, and having a cool relationship with Cora and her having an understanding of like what's going on and, certain loyalties, or whatever. So she opened it up to, like, hey, do you want to have La Luna part of this? Do you want to have Tapatio part of this? And then we can actually just make this like a bigger thing. And so having that extension and just being able to bring everybody together, and it's not like, oh, it's just about me, because El Silencio probably has, like a ton of money behind them and they can do, so many more things. But what we're all about, and because we're about the community and being able to bring other people together, then that's it. And basically it's going to be a big like carnival where we'll have like games, you get to win tickets, and we're getting a bunch of donations locally from different businesses.
Right on.
So
when is that?
Monday.
It's on Monday.
Oh, Monday.
Yeah, Monday at Brewsters. Yeah.
What time?
From 4 to 8.
4 to 8.
Hey, did you bring flyers?
I
Flowers.
think I do have some
I don't need
flyers.
flowers.
Leave it. Flyers, Stork.
Oh.
I hope I do.
For these people. For all these people.
So,
no,
yeah.
I just won, and I can put it up on the board back there.
So it'll be fun. It'll be like
awesome.
you win your tickets and you go like Scandia and like we'll have a big prize board and you'll be like, oh, that's 30 tickets and boom, boom, boom. And that reminds me, I have to ask Sal something. But
Right here, you need a pen and a post-it note.
no,
Somebody tell me about this, because it's so different from the first
Yeah.
one.
So the
Wait,
beauty,
what is this?
they're both mezcals, right? They're both from La Luna.
Now is Isidro? Is he the one making all this?
These
or?
two expressions are from Isidro.
Okay,
Yeah.
gotcha.
And so the one thing that mezcal provides is, that we should be very familiar with is like wine, in the sense that the category being like, let's just call it white wine.
Right.
But within it, you have Chardonnay, Pinot Grigio, Sauvignon Blanc, etc. In the world of mezcal, it's the same thing. And in this scenario, that is of a particular expression of a maguey, an agave, cuprieta. And then this is what's called an ensamble. An ensamble just means blend.
Right.
So it's a blend this is of two. It could be 3, it could be 4, it could be 5.
Right.
This is just 2. This is cuprieta and tequilana. And so the big thing with the CRM is the Consejo Regulador de Mezcal. So they're the agency that controls the denomination of origin. And their requisite for this is to, cook together or roast together, ferment together, distill together.
Oh.
So, because a lot of people, when they hear the term ensamble, and especially with the wine world, the blends, it's blended post being done, right?
Right.
And then that's actually, a lot of
That's
people
what I
say
was
that,
thinking.
yeah,
I wouldn't have think they were fired together.
Yeah, you have
Yeah.
to be. Whereas in the wine world, I think a lot of people say that usually a winemaker's blend is the best of what they do because they get to like really mess around with everything they love and and they choose a profile. And in this case, you really can't. You can choose a profile based on not choose, but define it by fermentation and then distillation cuts, especially. But you can't do it post. So it's kind of the challenge or with what you're doing. So these are both from him. Now we have a total of 6 expressions of mezcal, and then the other 4 are not done by Isidro. They're done by other folks on our team.
Gotcha. Now this is great. I mean, it's a lot. It's a milder taste.
I like
But,
this one better.
That's the lovely part. There's something for everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the curious, that's cool.
I don't know,
This is
like-
what it is. This is what it's all about. Like you can have
And I
your
don't know
favorite.
if there's one like that's
Well,
a
what's
higher level
awesome-
than the other, but that one,
This is more
this
expensive.
one makes me feel, oh, really?
This one's more expensive, mostly because of how it all works out logistically in Mexico in terms of cost, like to produce it. The tequilana agave we use here is expensive. Tequilana agave or Blue Weber is at the highest peak of what it's ever been price wise in Mexico. So it's really expensive. And so, yeah, all those things combined makes this a more expensive one. That guy is a curious one for us. The Cuprieta, the black label for us. That is our number one product in terms of sales. Because there's a very unique purpose for it in terms of where it's priced, and a lot of people can use it in cocktails. And as mentioned earlier, mezcal, the highest consumption of mezcal is happening in cocktails. And so when we shop that around, yeah, you could like it for, what it is on a neat level, which is great. We want that, right? We want mezcal to represent itself. But, with the price point being where it's at and some of the flavors it provides, it makes for great cocktails.
Well, it's so much more interesting too that I would imagine that mixes out well too, because it can fight its way through whatever it's.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many variables in it, and just kind of knowing how to match up the other ingredients that you're going to play with it, can be a little bit tricky. I mean, it could even be the same way with like Scotch, and there's so many different layers that kind of go on with that. And then of course you have that peatiness happening with Scotch too. So here, you know, how do you play that into it? I mean, and if you read, you know, like go through a lot of books and like see a lot of recipes, I mean, there's a lot of similarities of like how everybody, you know, certain ingredients that a lot of people use. So like trying to find new ways to.
So, well, what would be like the top 3 mixed tequila drinks?
Tequila?
Yeah.
Margarita's got to be
Margarita, like
obviously.
Paloma.
But I mean, with mezcal, you know.
Yeah. So those will change.
There I am,
Like a margarita,
again,
Paloma will definitely. I mean, we just did a Naked and Famous at Picazo.
It's one of my favorites.
Kitchen and Bar. Yeah.
Oh, I haven't
Mezcal
been
last
there
word
yet.
that people were doing.
Mezcal last word.
Okay.
Yeah.
There's like, I think everyone's doing creative stuff with it. And then the Naked and Famous is a mezcal drink, right?
Yeah.
So like there are people creating cocktails with mezcal.
Well,
That's what I'm talking. Yeah. Because I mean, I have no idea what you're talking about, but I'm excited. but I'm serious. But I'm really excited because especially after tasting that Black Label.
Yeah.
This
Yeah.
one feels to me like it's more of a, again, so new to drinking hard shit, but this, I feel like I can chew it almost. Like it's
which is
so,
a good thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it felt like,
No,
it just
that's-
felt like, and I'm not actually
Yeah.
this.
You're hanging out with that guy.
In general,
So what's up?
in general, this smoky is not my thing.
Yeah.
In booze or in food. So I would have just assumed that this one would have been a little bit better for me, but I just felt like it was more of an experience. I don't know how to explain it. It just was a longer experience
That's
right there.
it.
This one at
Yeah.
the end lost me because it felt like it just went right up my nose. I was like,
I don't think there's really
I
a
was
right or
almost
wrong
there.
with it.
Well, what's weird,
Yeah.
what's weird
But-
too, after
but if
drinking
you-
bourbon, kind of, it's been my summer of bourbon, just how interesting that Black Label is. Even like the range within the bourbons I've been drinking, whether it's 100% rye or some blend, that Black Label is really interesting.
What's,
my God.
What's curious about bourbon to me when you say that is that this is very interesting and it's a clear spirit, you know, so it just goes to show you, because in the bourbon world, even specifically bourbon makers will tell you that the barrel usually is what really will make the flavor
Yeah.
profile, right?
Right,
a
right.
good white dog or their good base spirit is great. That's what they're looking for. But the barrel is what creates a bourbon profile, right? And we're here in clear spirits with tequila as well as with mezcal. Mezcal specifically, because tequila has aged expressions of reposado and añejo. But with mezcal, it's all unaged. You know, the agave and all the processes really speak to what the spirit is, each one being that. It's a really cool thing, you know.
And distilled to proof, right?
Yeah, a lot of times, a lot of people adjust.
Oh, okay.
A lot of people will adjust their spirit, but with the same distillation, with what they call puntas y colas, right? So they'll adjust with that for flavor profile. Some people must dilute. Like there's brands out there that are more of a mass scale, so they'll dilute to a perfect 40 or 41, 42. But as a whole, most traditional mezcals coming to market or a true mezcal, I don't want to say true because that's dumb, but the mezcals are
More than less
Distilled to
mass
proof.
produced stuff, right?
well, yeah, just like, yeah, I don't like saying true because it's such a, I don't know, it's a loaded term. Like, you know, if it's a mezcal, it's a mezcal. So like, I don't want to be the one to define it. I don't have that
Like
power.
artisanal. Or
Yeah, just like, yeah,
guess.
more like a small, artisanal.
There you
Yeah,
go.
the categories are what they are. There's 3 categories within mezcal. There's, mezcal that's, just mezcal, which is kind of an industrial state. And then there's, artesanal and then ancestral. And we, with La Luna, will do those last 2. This is all artesanal and then ancestral. So yeah, they're smaller by nature of how much we cook underground to how much each caso takes to distill and stuff like that. So that's a thing. But being distilled to proof or 45% above or some like of the regular barometers of what you would find with some of these smaller batch mezcals.
So for these specifically, for you, like if you're going to make a cocktail with either, maybe you wouldn't, but let's pretend you are. And the difference for my education, the difference in the flavor profile for this, like when you look at this one, you're like, oh, I would totally use what versus that. Obviously they're, you know,
Yeah, I mean, it
You know what
really
I'm saying?
just kind of depends on
for you, let's just say
the setting.
Danny
I mean,
wants to have a drink.
I would go with the Cuprietta just because it's very interesting to me, and even still, since it's been introduced in my life, playing around with it, and there's some different, you know, the different profile, and like some of the drinks I've tried to make, which is like espadines, you know, mezcal from Oaxaca, you know, it's just been really different, and so like finding the challenges with the Cuprietta was a fun little, you know, game for me. So it was just kind of like, oh, okay, you know, like, you know, how I got to change up my specs, or maybe it's a different ingredient. And, you know, now it's just blown up in so many different ways, where there's so many different aperitifs, and, you know, like there's so many vermouths now. And so, and they all bring different flavor profiles. The white label is awesome. But I think, it's like a fun way